Hello everyone. In this video, I would like to discuss about the data types used in C. Let us understand first what data type is. Actually, the data type word is anything which can declare what type of data the variable is going to store is called data type. Like while declaring a variable, we used int a. So this int tells that variable a can store the integer type value. So I can say that this int is a data type. Okay, so the word as tells us that data type is something which can tell what type of data the variable is going to store. So if I write float f, then you can be sure that f is going to store a float type variable, a float type data. So these all are the data types. When we bifurcate the data type, it is of two types: primary data type and secondary data type. So data type is of two type, primary and secondary. And when we again differentiate a primary data type, it is of three type: character type, real type, and integer type. Similarly, the secondary type of data can bifurcated into four parts like array, pointer, structure, union. So let's discuss first about the primary type data. And talking about the primary type data, if we talk about the integers, integer, as we all know, any thing, all whole numbers are integers, like 2, 5 are integers. So this data type, when we write in our C program, whenever we declare a variable and we use this structure int num, this tells two things to us. That first is that num is going to store integer type of value, and the second thing is that the size of num. That is what would be the size of num. When we will, if we would like to talk about the integer, uh, it contains 2 bytes to store. So this also tells us about the size of memory area. Along with this, it also tells the range in between the value can exist. Like if we talk about the integer, it has a range for 16-bit compiler -32768 to 232767, and for 32-bit compiler the range is this. So for 32-bit compiler the range is this for integers. Okay, in case of integer, these are the range for 16-bit compiler and 32-bit compiler. Uh, the meaning of 16-bit compiler and 32-bit compiler is that the compiler, when compiles the code into machine code, it would be able to execute on 16-bit processor like Intel 8086 or something type of processor which is of 16-bit. And if we talk about 32-bit compiler, that means that compiler can uh, mm, convert the code that can be executed on 32-bit processor like Intel Pentium. This doesn't mean that if you use a 16-bit compiler on 32-bit processor, it will not work. Yes, it will work, because in that case the 32-bit processor work as a 16-bit. But if you do the vice versa, that is, if you want to try a 32-bit compiler on 16-bit, yes, of course, it will never work. So this is all about the size of data also depends upon the compiler type, that is, it is of whether 16-bit or 32-bit. Now let's come on the integer. When we talk about the integer constants, all integer constants which are the whole values can be treated in three ways in C language. It can be either of short type or int type or long type. Short is also an integer value, but it Short is also an integer value, but the memory area it covers is not large enough as long, and so its range is also limited. So the short, when we talk about the short, it will take 2 bytes in 16-bit compiler, and also 2 bytes in 32-bit compiler. And if we talk about the integer, it will take 2 bytes in 16-bit and 4 bytes in 32-bit. If we talk about the long, it will take 4 bytes for both type of compiler. The difference between int, short and long is this: is that they differ in their memory size, what it takes while storing the variable, and also the ranges. That is, when we talk about the short, it will take -128 to 127, and if we the range of short is -128 to 127, I guess 127. And if we talk about the integer, it will take, as I told you earlier, -327 to 32767, 32767. Same as long, it differ in both type of compiler, only the range will differ. Okay, the value you can store same in all three. You can store integer type of values. The difference will come in range and memory area, memory size only. Okay, so this is all about integer type constant. Now let's come on real constants. When we talk about real constant, it will be bifurcated into two types. First is float and second is double. First is float and second is double. Same thing happens as see, one more thing I can tell you about the integer constants. All these type of integer constant, that is short, int and long, can be bifurcated further into two types: signed and unsigned. Short is also of signed and unsigned. Int is also of signed and unsigned. That is signed int and unsigned int. Signed and unsigned is just to indicate the sign. If we talk about the unsigned short, it will have, it will, the sign of that is not explicitly told. That is the last most significant bit. While storing the value, most significant bit will always represent the sign in memory area. When we talk about the sign int, so the sign int have sign also, it may have plus or minus sign. But when we talk about the unsigned int, it the most significant bit will not declare the sign of the integer. And same thing happen for short and long. Short and long also can be bifurcated into signed short, signed long, unsigned short, unsigned long. Okay, the declaration, one more thing I will have to tell you, that how you would declare. If you want to declare a long type of variable, you can use this signature like long int num, or you can use directly long num. Both are valid in C. Same thing happens for short. You can use short int num, or you can say short num only. Okay, so both is valid. Now let's come on real type of constant. If you talk about real type of constant can be treated as float and double. Float and double also differs in size and range. Size, float takes 4 byte and double takes 8 byte in 16-bit compiler. So float double float and double also differs in their ranges. Float has lower range than the doubles, Since double takes the memory area larger than float, it has the large range also. We One more thing we have while declaring these real type constant: long double takes 10 bytes. Okay, so let me write it here. Float take 4, double will take 8 byte, and long double will take 10 byte. Memory area and range differs, as similarly their range also differs.